My name is Ethan, and honestly, I've always been a bit careless. Ever since I was young, I've walked the fine line between being brave and being reckless. Where others saw danger, I only saw excitement. I was so sure that nothing bad would ever happen to me, and that led to me making some pretty stupid choices in my life. This is the story of the biggest mistake I ever made. That night I was completely stressed out from finals. I had been studying for my biology exam all night, and the exhaustion was starting to hit me hard. I don't even remember when I finally gave up and went to bed. Everything became a blur, and then darkness. I thought I had fallen asleep, or at least that's what I believed. When I opened my eyes, I was still in bed, but something was wrong. The room was dark, but there was this strange sense that I was awake, yet unable to move. My body wouldn't respond, and the only thing I could move were my eyes. It was one of the scariest feelings I had ever experienced, knowing something was wrong, but being completely powerless. The room was eerily silent, and as I slowly shifted my gaze to the center of the room, I saw her. A woman dressed in black, standing in the middle of the room, holding a long, thin object in her hand. My heart started racing, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, to call out Mom, but my lips wouldn't move. The woman slowly approached, placing her hand on my forehead, and when I looked into her face, I saw my mother, but that was impossible. My mother had passed away just 3 weeks ago. She looked into my eyes, and I tried to scream again, but I was still trapped in my own body. She turned away, walking out of the room, and I was left lying there, paralyzed with fear. When I could finally move again, I shot out of bed, screaming for my mother, Mom, Mom. I ran down the hallway, but it wasn't her that I found, it was my dad. He hugged me, tears in his eyes, and said, I miss her too. That night was only the beginning. After that, I thought the nightmare would stay in my mind, but I was wrong. A week later, my friends and I went out drinking, wandering through the city streets on a warm summer night. At one point, one of my friends spotted someone hiding in the bushes outside a house. Curious, we approached to get a closer look. It was weird. There was clearly someone hiding there, but we couldn't make out their face. Then we heard this strange, robotic sound coming from the bush. Freaked out, we screamed and ran, laughing nervously because it was both scary and ridiculous. Later that night, I went home tipsy and tired and quickly fell asleep. But when I woke up, everything changed. I couldn't move. The paralysis had returned, pinning me to my bed. My eyes scanned the room, and then I heard it, the same robotic sound from earlier. It was in my room now. My heart raced as I looked toward the foot of my bed, and there it was, something straight out of a nightmare. A grotesque, ghostly head floated toward me. Its mouth hung open, and it emitted that same haunting sound. As it drew closer, I realized it wasn't floating. It had a body that blended with the room's darkness. Its open mouth seemed to stretch wider with every second, and the sound grew louder, filling the air. Just when it was mere inches from my face, it vanished. I bolted upright, my body finally free from the paralysis, screaming into the empty room. I turned on the light, my heart pounding as I checked every corner. There was nothing there, but it felt so real, like I had been wide awake for the entire thing. It wasn't just a dream. it couldn't have been. The thought haunted me a week later. That haunting image would come to life in the worst possible way. Crossing the road with my friends, I was distracted and not paying attention. In that split second of carelessness, a speeding car hit me. The impact shattered my leg in 3 places, and I was rushed to the hospital. There, lying in bed with a fractured thigh and barely holding on, I looked up and saw them, my family, standing around my bed just like in my nightmare. All 4 of them were there just like I had seen during my paralysis. Their faces were filled with fear and sadness, and my mother, even though she had passed, was somehow part of it. The robotic sound echoed in my mind, and I realized the truth too late. The signs had been there all along, warning me. I ignored them, and now I'm lying here, broken and haunted, knowing that dark figure is still out there, waiting for me.